Hello, welcome back to Oracle PL SQL tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss about stored functions. So before we discuss further, let's decide why do you need stored functions. So in your SQL class, you must have seen a lot of predefined functions given by Oracle. They're almost on different functions like character function, number function, date functions, and so on. So maybe there are 200 plus predefined functions is given by Oracle. So then if those are the predefined functions is given, then why do you need to create a stored functions or your user defined functions? The reason is that all these 200 plus functions may not work for me. That means I have some custom calculations, or I have some specific requirements which may not be which which Oracle's 200 functions may not be sufficient to solve. In that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a functions myself. That is called user defined function or stored functions. Okay, or stored functions. So this is like let's take an example of a predefined function called upper. So what upper does, upper takes a value, and then whatever parameter it takes, it will compute that one. It will change that to uppercase values. Let's say if I send ABC, then the result will be ABC, capital ABC. Okay. Similarly, if I want to raise salary, so the in my requirement, I have to raise sal based on some rule. I will take an input parameter, say employee number, and the return value of this raise underscore sal would be a number, that is our new salary. And then inside this raise underscore sal function, I will write the code to make sure that the business rules whatever is given is obeyed. So that is how the concept of function came into picture. Okay, the same thing like in your C language or any other language, that you get some input and then compute and then return some output. Okay, so that is what is the use of function. And then I hope you have already gone through the videos for procedures. So all these things are applicable, like the way that the benefits, like it is more secure, like it is more modular, and like it is more performing. So all those things that whatever you learn, the benefits of procedure is applicable to functions. The same way that you created the procedure, first thing is that you use a editor to write PL SQL block, and then you load it to database. So load to database and then compile, and once you compile, you create the parsed version of the code or P code, parsed code, and then you execute that procedure. So same method, same cycle also applicable for functions. The only difference between procedure and function, procedure may or may not return any value, but whereas for functions it must return a value. It must return one value, and by the way, a procedure can also return multiple values. Okay, so that is the only difference between the function and procedure. So now let's take an example. So here is a hello world function. So hello world function, what it does, it takes a parameter called p underscore name, and then here is the difference between procedure and function, that you must have a return clause. And what I'm saying is the return is a varchar 2. That means this function, whoever is going to call, he is going to get a string or a varchar 2. Then I declare a variable called v underscore result varchar 2, and then what I did, whatever parameter I took, I concatenate with hello, and then I store that result in v underscore result, and I'm returning that v underscore result. So look, the difference between the you can do the same piece of code in a procedure. In a procedure, you don't have to do any return or anything. In that case, you have to define a out variable in your calling environment, and the same job can be done in a procedure. But the beauty of function is that where you can access, you can access this thing as a part of a select statement. We are just going to discuss that one in the next couple of minutes. Whereas procedure cannot be called from a select statement. Okay, so this is also another added things that functions provide you. Okay, so this is a very simple procedure. What we have done is we taken a parameter and then we are returning, and then we are concatenating that parameter with a string called hello, and then we are returning that value. This is the way that you can execute. From an anonymous block, we declare a variable x is a varchar 2, and then we are, so that means x is created here, nothing is there, and then whatever the return of hello world with a parameter abc is going to store in x. That means hello world abc is going to return me hello abc, and the hello abc is going to store here in the parameter x. In second way, we can call this procedure from a select statement. How we do? Select hello world xxx. So basically this is something like hello world xxx should be called, and then that means this is going to return hello. Sorry. So this is going to return me hello xxx from dual. So look at this, so this is the added way that had it been a procedure, you couldn't have done, you could not have done that. Okay, so because it's a function, you are able to do this, something similar to whatever you write in upper or lower or whatever the Oracle defined functions. So here is another way, by using a host variable. That means in a SQL clause we create a variable x, and then we give another command like execute x hello abc. So this is something similar to the anonymous block. You no need to worry about that. And also you can call from a procedure. So dbms output put line is a procedure. Inside that, what I did, I call this function hello abc. Okay, so hello world abc. So this is going to execute it first, and this is going to return me a string called hello abc, and then that is going to fed to the function called put line of dbms underscore output package, and whenever I execute this thing, I'm going to get hello abc. Okay, so as I told you, we can call a function from a select statement. That means we can call select function f1 some parameter from dual. So there are some restriction. If we call this the functions like this, there are some restriction. And also another thing we can do, we can say update x, so update table t1 set x is equal to f1. We can do this, right? So essentially whatever way that you can write a DML statement, you can use a function, not a problem. But if you want to use a stored function, there are some restriction. How do you write that stored function? So those restrictions are also very intuitive. Let's say for example I am selecting from f1, right? So select f1 on this function. So when I'm selecting, and then let's say my body of my function is something like this. So once I select this thing, I should not do any commit or rollback. So inside that function, if the function is a select function, like if the function is going to be used in the select clause, then I cannot use a commit and rollback. That means I cannot terminate the transaction from a function. That is not allowed. That means if you write a function f1 with a commit and rollback and you are going to select, the select is it's going to give an error. Another thing, whenever you are selecting something, you cannot do a DML statement like update or delete. So update, delete are not allowed if you are doing select. That's also very intuitive, because see, like let's say this, while you start the transaction doing a select, if you go on, then basically let's say your function f1 is querying a table t1, right? If it's querying a table t1, and then you do a select count star from table t1, and then later on in that same piece of in the same function you are going to delete some rows. In that case, it's going to give you data inconsistent. That is not data consistency. So therefore it's not allowed you update and delete. And same thing, whenever you are trying to do update table t1 set x is equal to f1 something, so inside this function, since you are updating the table t1, you should not inside this function f1 you should not do any select from table t1. The reason is that since you are updating that you are doing you are on the middle of some transaction, and then it will again like some rows are already done and then you are going to do a select, and that is going to give you data inconsistent state. So therefore there are a couple of things that you cannot do if you are using a function f1 which is used on a select or a update statement. You cannot do. However, if your function is just accessing like this, then I don't think there should be any problem. You can always do that. You can always update. You can do that inside a PL SQL block. But it's always, because since in the functions can be used in a select statement and update statement like this, therefore it's a good idea to avoid this kind of scenario, that you don't have to do a commit rollback. You have to do then write a PL SQL procedure, not a function. Okay, so this is the code that we have defined an anonymous block where we are raising the salary of an employee, and so basically we are giving an employee number 7782, and then for that employee number we are manipulating data, and then finally we are going through some conditions, and then we are incrementing the salary. So this is the anonymous block. So how do I write this one to a PL SQL function? The same thing we have already written in the PL SQL procedure in our last video, and then in this example, in this video, we are going to rewrite the same procedure in a function, and this is how we're going to do. So create a replace function, and this function name is salRaise. We take a parameter p underscore employee number. We return a number. Alright, so if you return a number, then we are going to get a number. That number, how we are going to return, we'll see that. So here we are selecting job and salary for that employee number, whatever employee number I am going to send from my calling program unit. Say for example, if I do sal underscore raise 7792, that means 7792 is going to come to the employee number, and this query is going to be executed for 7792, and all these things are done, and then we are going to calculate the raise based on this condition, and then we are going to return the new salary. Alright, so they will return the new salary back to the calling function. So basically what I can do, I can write this function select sal underscore raise 7792 like ename from emp. Okay, so if I do that, what I'm going to get, I'm going to get for 7792, and then from employee number where emp number is equal to 7792. So if I do this, I'm going to get the employee number for the employee ID 7792, employee name for 7792, and the hike or the new salary for 7792. So this is the real life use of a function, and then again you have to do a lot of different complex code than whatever I'm shown you in the simple thing. But again, the concept is important. Once you get this thing, you can also write a bigger thing, and we are going to discuss in our project. We will discuss about functions, procedure, and packages in detail, so that you can have a real-time exposure to how do you write a PL SQL functions and procedures. Then you can drop the function by giving a command like drop function f1. In that case, the function is gone. Then if somebody else has written a function, you can also go on and see from the data dictionary what is the content of that function, and also you can modify if you have access and privileges. And to see that, you can either use a user underscore source data dictionary table, or by using any tool like SQL developer, you can go on and browse what is the body of the function. Thank you.